So in yesterday's video, I gave my reasons as to why I'm turning bullish here on Palantir Stock at the current valuation. So if you missed that video, check it out. I'll leave a link in the description as well. But today what I want to discuss is something that I didn't really talk about yesterday, but I think is important for any investment, and it's starting to turn very positive here for Palantir specifically, so it's worth discussing. Now real quick, high level, what I'm talking about today, guys, is institutional ownership, and that has increased substantially here for Palantir. So I'm going to discuss what that exactly means, what the ownership is sitting at right now for Palantir, and how this metric can be useful for us to monitor and how it can influence stock prices over time. So when stocks are kind of a smaller market cap, institutional ownership, in my opinion, is something to definitely keep an eye out for, because it adds a lot of stability to the stock. It adds a lot of positivity to the stock, because if Wall Street's on board, institutions are on board, you're going to get less hit pieces, you're going to get less short interest, you're going to get less overall negativity around the company. Now, that in turn should help the stock go higher, as well as these massive funds, dumping billions of dollars into the stock. That's also going to help push it higher. But you have to understand that, while institutions can help move a stock higher, they can also most definitely help crash a stock as well. So that's why it's always important, in my opinion, just monitor how the situation's going, how funds are looking at the particular stock that you're interested in this case Palantir, and kind of factor that into our decision. Don't solely base it on that, but just factor that in. Now, one thing I want to note here is that long-term, this metric isn't as relevant, because if it's a good business, funds are going to want to get into the stock eventually, and you're going to see something like what happened with Tesla last year and the year before, when funds were just super bearish, they were shorting it, they weren't interested in it, and then there was a rush to get into Tesla stock. Institutional ownership went through the roof, and we all know what happened with Tesla stock. So that's possible. That's kind of like an extreme bull case, but there are also cases when this can completely work against the stock. So here's an example. Roku, it was a high flyer in 2020, and it hit near $500 per share earlier this year, 2021. And during this time, you can see the steady rise in institutional ownership, going from holding under 900,000 shares in the beginning of 2020 to at the peak holding 5.8 million shares. And this helped drive the stock tremendously. And this is specifically here in relation to hedge fund ownership, not all institutions. But now conversely, to the downside, we can see exactly how this hurt Roku tremendously as the interest started dwindling. In Q3, we dropped down to 4.8 million shares here owned by hedge funds, and that's added selling pressure to Roku's stock. Again, this is not a perfect metric, but we can see sort of trends over time. When institutions are bullish, stocks move higher. When institutions are bearish, stocks move lower. So now this brings us to Palantir. Historically, since going public, this is what Palantir's ownership looked like from a hedge fund institutional ownership standpoint. And we can see that when the stock made its previous lows earlier this year, and there was quite a bit of negativity around this company, funds were cashing out as well, which added heavy selling pressure. More recently, though, we're seeing more and more interest come back in from hedge funds, and shares are getting added once again, and they currently hold a record 37 million shares. But more importantly, this is trending in the higher direction quarter over quarter. Here we can see some more detailed info on this, where it shows that ownership increased quite a bit substantially across all institutions. In Q3 2021, it was up 35% for all 13F filers, and hedge funds specifically was up 34%. So it is a positive here, and while the number of shares owned has fluctuated from hedge funds, the number of funds holding these shares in Palantir keeps consistently increasing. As of today, institutions now have gobbled up 32% of the outstanding shares for this stock, so there's definitely a very strong base building for this company. Funds are turning bullish on the stock, and they're trying to gobble up more and more shares, as they become available and as they see opportunity in the market. And that just means that Wall Street as a whole is turning bullish here on Palantir. This could mean that this stock could outperform the market quite significantly in 2022. And as I mentioned in my last video, this has me interested not only for a short-term play, but for a long-term investment, because the metrics, fundamentals, the valuation all finally line up, in my opinion. So guys, that's just a quick bit to add on to yesterday's video. If you missed this about Palantir, it's a good kind of point to note and add to your thesis as well. But again, don't base your future investments solely on this metric. Just incorporate it and have it hold some value when you're making your decision. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe if you're brand new here as well. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.